Hello, people. Oh my God. I'm not looking forward to it. This week I read Dune House Corrino. Is that coming in right? I like this symbol. I love this font. You know what the part I don't like is right in here. That BRIAN Herbert part. I guess I don't really have anything against Kevin J. Anderson. I don't. My guess is he could do a better job, but I think he interfered. I don't know. It's my guess. It's a big thick boy. This book is so stupid. I just if you're a big BRIAN Herbert fan, you might want to tune off. I got very little good to say about this book. I can almost turn to any literal page and have something that annoys me just beam right into my brain. But I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through some of the things that annoy me and sort of why. Because it's just stuck in my throat and I have to vomit it out to somewhere. And that's half the reason I made this YouTube channel, is so I don't, chew off the ears of normal people around me who aren't neck deep into Dune lore. So, if you're coming to this just straight, meaning I read a bunch of Harlequin novels or, I don't know, some other type of genre, and I know nothing about Dune whatsoever. I'm vaguely aware that a desert might be involved, right? Just very basic. Then what you get out of this, which is a trilogy, mind you, and I know halfway through this you're going to be saying, why did you finish the trilogy if you hate every one of these books? And I'm asking myself the same question. I didn't make that mark, by the way. I would never. One, it's because I love Dune. And two, something from this channel. This channel's why. Because someone out there should be saying and giving a warning to readers all over the world, from sea to shining sea, that horrible books exist and they should avoid them. So that's my job. I suffered so you don't have to. But if you're coming to this straight, this is not good science fiction. Just straight up. It isn't. There's too many inconsistencies. There's too many inconsistencies in this book, in the entire trilogy, and everything, I guess, that he does. If you're coming to it with the love of Dune, it's even worse because you have more inconsistencies to relate it to. So it doesn't work in any sense. And by what I mean by not working, okay, now here's the trilogy in the back. Look at that. Look at those pictures. I mention all three, and not just this one, because they're essentially one large book. It says House Corrino. The other ones will say House Harkonnen. The other ones will say House Atreides. But it never focuses on that house in any meaningful way. What it does is it bounces between 3 or 4 storylines. It's Liet Kynes on Dune, our planetologist. It will go to House Atreides, that's Leto Atreides, the elder, the son of the old duke, the father of Paul Atreides, the Kwisatz Haderach himself. It'll go to the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and or Raban, his cousin or some mess like this. It's just the Harkonnens. And then it'll go to Court Intrigue, House Corrino. But it shifts, it chops them up, and they just line up together. Is it in any real meaningful way? Not particularly. Not particularly. It's not like you get some grand theme out of it or anything like this. What we get, what it feels like, I figured it out in this book. I might have figured it out in the last one. I don't remember what I said. But I know for certain in this book, it hit me. If you have cool ideas in your head, I need the emperor to seem overbearing. And I think of a little scene, and I write that little scene out. I'm like, yes, this is a good little nugget. And I set it down. And then I think of some other nugget, of some other situation, of some other aspect I want to come out of the emperor. And I say emperor, but it could be any of the characters. Any one of them. And by the end, I'll have 75 little nuggets. This author then just sort of mushes them close together and gives us some connective tissue. This is the book. And it doesn't either matter to him or he's unaware of when there are inconsistencies in the nuggets. So in one sense, the king is, outmatched. And in the other sense, he's overpowerful. And in one sense, he's an idiot. And in the next sense, he's smart. And it does this for every character. You have moments that ruin things about characters. Moments they're like, well, I thought he was headstrong here and now he's a dope here. It's just hodgepodge. Just hodgepodge all over the place. It's very annoying. Also, in the Dune books, you learn of this, and you hear about it a lot in this one, of like an eternal war between the Atreides and the Harkonnens that goes back to the Butlerian Jihad, the fight against the machines, etc., etc. It's why we have mentats instead of computers, a la human computers, because we don't trust AI or robots in any sense. You don't get any animosity. It's just like it's forgotten for long stretches of time, and then random, and they're like, oh right, I hate Harkonnens. Oh right, I hate Atreides, and then I'm gonna go do something. It's not connected in any way. And you would think if you have them, that you could get more in depth about it. By this time, we're 3 books in now, and so we've had 2 books. This is the 3rd of our Lady Anna rule. This is the Emperor Shaddam's wife, at least one of them. And she's the mother of Princess Irulan. Yes, from the Dune books. That's the connective tissue. She kind of goes crazy and then gets stabbed by Piter de Vries by the end of this book. That's essentially her storyline. I don't know why by the end of this he just wants to kill everyone off. He seems to think like he can't have any threads that go through Dune, the main books, for some reason. As opposed to in real life, Dune is these characters, but the universe is like all of this. And so stuff can happen. Stuff was happening all out here that then gets caught up in all the effects of Dune. But in his mind, like everything has to just stop at Dune. So he kills a lot of characters that you've been dealing with for 3 books in very goofy ways, and I was laughing a lot. But that's what happens to Lady Anna Rule. She started hearing like all the voices because it's the genetic memory of, I don't know, like 1,000 Reverend mothers that live in her, and they were all like screaming all at once, and she was making her lose her mind. Even though she's a Reverend mother, and you'd think between the 1,000 of them, one of them or 2 would have a way to deal with how they all yell at once, but apparently not. Demur. Demur is the son of an ambassador on Ix. That he went in and became part of the guild, and he's a guild navigator. He's popped in and out of the story, and here we get to the final end. The final end being, it's like, I'm trying to think, did he okay, he didn't crash it. So we're trying to make a mall, which is a fake spice, and the Emperor's in a rush to get it for some reason. I don't know. It's not like he can't wait. Spice is the single most important substance in the known universe. If you could make a fake one, It would be worth whatever you could pay to make it. Just flat out. And no one's almost richer than the emperor anyway. So I don't know why he wouldn't just give it endless funds and endless time. He's going to live to like 150 anyway because he drinks spiced coffee every day because he's rich. But apparently he's in some hyper rush. In any case, we want to test the amal to make sure it's as clear as every other spice before we hit it to market. And so he sends Count Fenring. And Count Fenring's idea is we get a bunch and we're going to dump it in the tanks that these guild navigators use. They're not even human because they just submerge themselves in spice so they could have like precognitive abilities and avoid asteroids as they whip around the universe. So our Demur gets in one and he's like, this ain't right. And then he yeets it. He just flies anyway. And it just bodies him somewhere in some random place in the universe, just way out in the middle of nowhere. And so they have to get more spice to bring him back, but by then he's poisoned and dies. I'm like, well, there's the end of Demur. Sucks to be him. Our master researcher, Hadar Fin Ajidica, Tleilaxu, these people are the ones who can change their body shape. They're big geneticists. He starts to get high on his own sauce, right? He does too much of the stuff. He starts having like precognitive abilities, but then because it's not real spice, it like he literally falls apart. Blood just oozes out of him and he dies. So rough way to end for him. We get introduced, I believe it's in this book, to a Tyros Refa. This is an illegitimate son of the former emperor, who the current emperor killed to get his seat. Because there's intrigue, right? I guess. I don't know. He finds out this guy exists, and it's just now all of a sudden some threat to the throne in his mind. I don't know why it would be. Because if you think about it, there's three main factions. There is Chom. These are an association of businesses that have grouped together. Mercantile business. They've banded together to be a force in the universe. The next leg of the tri-leg is the guild navigators. They're the ones who get you from planet to planet. So you can't function without me, but without Chom, there's no reason for you to even move stuff because I own all the stuff. And the third leg is the Landsrod. These are X amount number of great families who then band together as sort of an aristocracy. The only check to them is the emperor, and the only check to him is them, because if he goes out of, if he tries to nuke one of them, they might all nuke him. So they're stalemated, but they band together because alone, Chom and the guild would overrun any of them. But they have enough clout together to hold off the other two in a perfect, balanced stalemate. It all functions because it all functions. Why are they the Landsrod and not just members of Chom? Meaning, why aren't they just some rich people? Because of family. So in this, the emperor is like the cousin of Leto Atreides. They're all interrelated. And somewhere along the line, each one of them is in line to be the emperor. Each one of them has a claim to the throne. Every great house. That's part of the story of the Dune books. You have Fade Ratha, the young one who's sort of Leto's age. Atreides, Paul Atreides' age. That the Harkonnen Baron is priming to take over the family sort of lineage here with aspirations for the actual throne. He's thinking in his mind, I could get a Harkonnen on the throne. That's his like end goal. He thinks big. But you don't have access to the throne unless you have a blood tie to it. So all of the Landsraad are trying to get the Corrino's seat. How? Because you remember, we're 10,000 years of this now. We've been doing this. When we're to this point in the books, it's been 10,000 years of sort of this universal setup, this way of doing things, this civilization. So how, for at least, let's say, it might be 10,000 years they've been running this thing, House Corrino. How long? I'm not exactly sure, because the book that covers House Corrino didn't talk about it, but I think they've been running it for a long freaking time. How? How have they not been ousted politically some way in those 10,000 years by smart people who must have come along like House Harkonnen? That's the game. That's the politics. That's what should have been in this book. We don't see hide or hair of that, though. What we have is a moronic emperor who thinks because he has a half-brother that brother has a better claim to the seat and might usurp him. Like, what power base does that guy have? Because Vladimir Harkonnen has an entire great house. And even with that, he'd need the fiefdom of Dune and the prestige that comes with it and the riches to work his way through everyone else to get to the seat. This isn't the Corrino's first rodeo. He wouldn't be fazed by a half-brother. Instead, he goes like on a mad killing spree. I think he nukes a planet just to try and kill the guy. The guy gets away. Now, I will say that he's fairly likable fairly quickly, but then his plan, his plan is for some reason to show up as an actor and act out this weird play and then present himself to the Landsraad. So the Emperor's there watching. And we're doing this dumb play, and this Tyros Rafa starts giving his speech out. And something goes weird in the speech, and he's like, this isn't how I wanted it to go. And so he lifts sort of a rod. It's supposed to just glow. I think it was supposed to be impressive looking or something. The moment he lifts it and it glows, the Emperor's like, that's a weapon, get him! And then they just pounce on him. He never gets attached to top. And then he gets executed. They just laser beam him to death. I'm like, what was your plan, bro? It was the dumbest move I've ever seen. He just kills him. Barely any trial. Side note, I don't know why everyone uses laser guns. It really bugs me. Now, on Dune, the planet Arrakis, no one wears shields, because if you wear a shield, the big worms are go into a frenzy and want to eat you. So you don't wear a shield. So in that sense, you can use a laser gun. But why would you be okay using a laser gun if you don't have a shield? What happens with a shield? I'm glad you asked. If you shoot someone with a shield with a laser gun, they basically turn into a nuke. So how far away do you have to be to use a laser gun on someone who might have a shield? Yes. Everyone has shields. They're personal shields. The Emperor might be the only one who doesn't, and that's to flex, to say, I'm so secure. I'm so secure with my Sardaukar, I don't need a shield. But everyone else has a shield, and this is why we have big knives to fight with. Because I can't shoot anybody. I have to stab them slowly through the shield. That's the fun trick. Instead, in this book, everyone's just laser beaming everyone to death with nary concern for if any one of them has a personal shield that would turn them, one person, into a nuclear device that would probably kill the person shooting the laser. We never mention this whatsoever. You know what we do mention 10,000 times? Sappho juice. Sappho juice on the lips of every mentat, because mentats use sappho juice. We're going to mention this randomly 7,000 times, in case you forget. There's nothing particularly wrong with mentioning sappho juice, but my God, I get it. Mentats use sappho juice. Tomb raiding. So stupid. The Tleilaxu are geneticists. Okay, so we're 10,000 years in. That's 10,000 years. That's a long freaking time. I believe by this time, they don't even know where Earth is. They went out, something happened in their history, and they lost track of the planet Earth. This is how long it's been. They still trace lineages back to Greece, yes. But they don't know where the planet is. Long freaking time. So in this amount of time, certain things have developed. The mentats. That is human computers. That's what they train. They find people with the attribute, train them up, and then of course they will probably marry other mentats, and that makes it more likely their kids can be, etc., etc. Throughout the years, 10,000 years of this. Human computers. The Bene Gesserit Sisterhood. They are all up in physical control. They can make themselves pregnant or not. They can make it a boy or a girl. They can keep diseases in their bodies. They can control their voices and control people. The Guild Navigators. They drink so much of the sauce they don't even look human, but they fly all these ships around. There's one more I'm trying to think of. The Guild Navigators. The Tleilaxu, before I get too sidetracked. The Tleilaxu are geneticists. They do stuff with genetics. So they're very focused on that field. And they get to a point now where they can have face dancers, is what they call them. Meaning, they can physically make themselves, like flexing a muscle, look like someone else, anyone else. That's the trick. That's what they do. How? Genetics. It's some weird mess. It's really freaky. So in this book, our Tleilaxu want people's genetic material, and they get it in their head to go to the tombs of Bacal to take the genetic material of the past Atreides. These would be Atreides who fought in the Balerian Jihad, and that might be 10,000 years ago. Or 9 or whatever. It's 10,000 years ago maybe. Long freaking time. If it's 5,000 years ago, it's a long time. I guess we won't argue too much about how much genetic material's there. Let's say they're Tleilaxu, they know how to get it. My issue is, why did they wait so long? This is all they do. And they didn't start it yesterday. They started it a long time ago. It may be 9,000 years of practicing this on a planet to get to the point where you can manipulate your body to look like someone else. That's how it's like their controlled evolution into this. So they started grabbing genetic material a long time ago. At some point way back in history, when they're looking to develop the sisterhood and they're looking to develop mentats and the houses are looking to unify and we're trying to sort out how the universe works, one of these cats said, I am going to deal with the genetic material. He would then start grabbing it. Who else is looking to grab it? Next to nobody, because who cares about an old tomb? I'm trying to get rich off of this new planet, off of traveling across the universe, off of establishing my great house. They're literally grabbing something no one else is looking at. They would have grabbed this material 8,000 years ago, 9,000 years, a long time ago. They wouldn't have waited this long. And if they did, they're face dancers. They can make themselves look like the person who works there in Bacal around these tombs and just sneakily get some and sneak out. They're sneaky. They're sneaky. Nah, instead the Atreides are like, we won't stand for this, and then they blow it up. The Imperial Necropolis. This is how I have it listed. Eyes just hit me as I was looking through these notes. There are more of these. Yeah, like I said, it's endless. Shaddam, the emperor of the known universe, emperor who sits upon the golden lion throne. His friend Fenring comes and he wants to have a conversation with him, but he needs to have it in secret. So he takes him down into the imperial necropolis, which to me just sounds kind of cool. So it's almost the size of the floor plan of the entire imperial palace. And it's dark and it's mysterious, and all the tombs of all the former emperors are in there. All his relatives. And here we can go because there's no listening devices or no one can peep on us or listen in. And I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're the emperor. You can just say, oh, my friend's here. Everyone leave so I can talk to my friend. Everyone would then leave. And you say, well, what if they plant a listening device? And I say, do you think in 10,000 years of being House Corrino and being full of nothing but political intrigue, someone hasn't tried to plant a listening device before? Do you think that's never happened? Of course it has. House Corrino can withstand that. If it can't, it wouldn't have lasted. So he'd have no fear. Okay, let's say he meets with Count Fenring right in the palace room, and somebody planted a listening device. And he tells them some kind of secret. Now what can they do with the secret? They're going to present it at some point as some way to get over on him. Fine. But he's in this seat for life. And he might live 150 years. I think maybe 200. I don't remember exactly. He can live a long freaking time. The point I'm trying to make is, he wouldn't be concerned with that one secret. There's not one secret that could get him ousted from the throne. And if there is, they'd use it and oust him. He has to have more. There's more at play politically. You interconnect yourself to more things than one thing so that others would fall if you fall. That's how politics works. It's this weird web that if you're really good at it, only you see the web and they don't. Until a string's pulled and like, I'm in danger. Prop up the thing. Prop up the golden lion throne so we don't all sink. This is what he'd do. So he, personally, would want someone to plant a listening device. It's almost like bait. I need the person who's bold enough to risk planting a bug in the imperial palace. I need to know who that is sooner rather than later so that I can start dealing with that person. Because dealing with them and that boldness and that innovativeness is more important than whatever secret I'm dealing with. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm the emperor of the known universe. This is politics. This book should be full of this. Not one iota of this is mentioned. Instead, we do dumb stuff like go down to the basement to talk secretly with my friend. It's stupid. He's not afraid of a secret getting out. He'd be more interested in who would use the secret. You got some who wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't dare re-mention this again. I can't risk the emperor coming after me. Because they know I'm not as good at politics. I have to use the cotton of my planet to get rich, or whatever they do. Some people know their place. Others want. I need the ambitious ones to supplant. It's part of the problem with why the Atreides got taken out to begin with. At some point, the emperor noticed that the Atreides army got nearly equal to his Sardaukar. And that threat was too much. If he doesn't have a fighting force that can beat every house, then he's at a disadvantage, and he snuffed him out. He helped you at Harkonnen, and he snuffed him out. That's forward thinking. That's what real Dune looks like. Not this one. Oh, and mentioning that, we also hear nothing about the Atreides dealing with, training up, working with their army whatsoever. So apparently, it just sort of happens overnight, because that's how that works in real life. Armies just get really good at fighting overnight. Makes sense. This happens again. The one that sticks out in my head that really bugged me with the Emperor is when he's like, this is the best army I can get, but we have to go now. Makes no sense to me. The army does exactly what this man wants to do. If he wants all of them off every other planet, he'll just bring them all to one spot. If he wants to go to a war for whatever reason he wants, he's gonna go with exactly the army he wants because they're all his. No, there's not another country that needs them. If there's another house that he sent Sardaukar to protect, he can just pull that protection. He doesn't care. It's all his army. Instead, he's like, I can't wait. I just have to have this. There's nothing else. It's stupid. You're the emperor of the known universe. And part of why I bring this up, I think somebody said this. I think Christopher Walken said this when he was playing the emperor, this same emperor in the Dune movies. I heard an interview. He said, because they're like, how do you play this emperor of the known universe? And he says, it's very easy. I don't have to do anything. He says, did he say it? Or did Johnny Depp say it? When he was doing Louis the 15th. It might have been Johnny Depp. I don't remember. One of those two. They said, I don't have to do anything. He said, playing a king is all about the reaction. So it's how they react to you is what makes you kingish. It's not, you don't have to do anything. So people's reaction to you indicates the level of kingness. I'm like, oh, the king's here. You bow your eyes. He doesn't say bow your eyes. If he had to say it, he'd be less kingly. He does this all the time where he's doing petty stuff that makes him look less emperorish throughout the book. And it bugs me to no end. A Romber, our genetic, our half cyborg idiot. So for 3 books, he just cries about, what is he? What's the meme with the clenched fist? This is Romber for 3 books. My icks, if I could get my icks back. Now, I guess when he's young, you just let it go. Like, he's 14. I guess they can't lead an army, which isn't accurate. I've seen 14-year-olds lead armies. I haven't seen it. I've seen it in history. Beside the point. Let's say we waited till he's grown. We waited till he's grown, half blown up, and remade into a cyborg man. Who, for no reason whatsoever, it's our Dr. Yoon, the traitor of the House of Atreides. For no reason, he's the one who just makes up this dude into a robot. There's only one Suk doctor in the entire universe, and it's Dr. Yoon. So annoying. In any case, our half cyborg Romber finally is like, I'm going to go do something and liberate my home world. What questions I have is for this book. You're the son of the Duke of X. You have no money whatsoever. You're sitting there crying, but you're grown at 22, let's say. You're grown enough by then. It may be older than 22 by the time this happens. I'm not really sure. In any case, why didn't you just go hire an army? You know, that's a thing that's doable. History, we've done it lots of times. Caesar was just rich enough to hire dudes. I'm going to just hire 50,000 dudes, 70,000, whatever number I need. I'm going to pay them myself because I'm rich. And I'm going to say, let's go break that stuff. And you're my army and you do what I say. Is it the best army? Not typically. Typically you want, oh my God, there's a weird cut in this. You see that line? It's like a slice. Somebody sliced my book. Oh well. Is it the best army? No. The armies who fight for love of country are always stronger, essentially. They're not always the most cohesive. They're not always the most efficient. But you could hire a mercenary army if you're just rich. This is doable. I don't know why he never does. Now let's say their funds were frozen or something. Fine. Let's say he has no money. Why didn't he get a loan from the Atreides to go hire an army? His funds aren't locked up. He has a major house. He's like, yeah, I trust you to take back that planet. And if you do, you're one of the tech leaders in the universe. Easily pay me back. They were making guild highliners. After the first guild highliner, he could repay his friend with interest. Rich people, rich houses would loan each other money. This happened in, all throughout European history. Dudes were loaning people money for wars. It's not that uncommon. We didn't bother with that either. We just wait till the Atreides are like, okay, now I'll help you. And there's some goofy way to help them. And it's goofy. We have now also our pregnant lady Jessica. She's pregnant with old Paul Atreides, who becomes the Kwisatz Haderach. The Sisterhood has been working on this for like 9,000 years to get to the point of this. Genetically, we remove these pieces. We've been looking at these trees. It's come to this point. Now, from their point of view, it's supposed to be a girl. The girl is supposed to be the final piece. Her son will be the Kwisatz Haderach. That's what was supposed to happen. We all know that's not what happened. Jessica made a move. They move her off of Caladan into the Imperial City for safety's sake. And it doesn't sound like a big issue, but it is. Because these sisters don't do artificial insemination. They're not Tleilaxu. They don't just ninja people's genetics. In their minds, to the concepts they have, the course of nature has to flow. It's what's the Gom-Jabbar test. We test to see if you're a human or not, or an animal. They're concerned with the humanity inside. There's an essence to that their faction, their religion, whatever you want to call it, believes in, has faith in, is important to them. So, would they risk, if I sent this lady to this man to have a baby, would I risk upsetting the natural course of that pregnancy? Meaning, if the husband doesn't want her to go, do I want her separated from that husband? I think you could make an argument they wouldn't. You can also clearly make the argument that they have sisters who are combat trained. These are very good fighters. The mom, whilst pregnant, fought some Fremen, just up in the desert, on top of, having the skill of the voice and mind messing with you. They have very good fighters. I could have. They're like, one of our sisters is pregnant. Let me send 4 trained killers to be there as 24/7 bodyguards to this lady. And Leto wouldn't think anything of it. He's like, these are just ladies in waiting because my wife's pregnant. Thank you. They'll be very helpful. Lady Jessica would know, or you could not tell her either. And they just act like ladies in waiting who are actually deadly assassins. But I can even make the case where you wouldn't send that either. Because we're dealing with something that's taken 10,000 years to make. You got to let it ride. You got to let it play its course. This is why they don't just kill the Lady Jessica when they find out that she had a son instead of a daughter. It wasn't in the plan. They just look at her and are like, all right, we're dealing with this now. Because in the course of this genetic movement, it doesn't always go to plan. You have on-off switch, boy or girl, boy or girl. Oh, that was a girl this time. But they're 10,000 years in. They don't care how long it takes as long as they eventually get there. Now, Paul Atreides made it harder. This is part of the reason he was okay with the jihad. It messes up this. It muddies the genetic water so much that they might not recover, etc. But they can't do anything because he has power, etc., etc. But maybe him a generation too early is what makes him unpliable. Hard to say. But I wonder about the risk in that. And if I'm wondering it, surely they would have wondered it too. Part of their whole thing is to let it ride. If the kid ends up dying, it dies. We got to pick up from there. We hope it doesn't. We're pretty sure it won't, etc., etc. But by the end, you see why. In the end of this book, towards the very end, for reasons unbeknownst to me, other than apparently what I think would be cool to add into a book. Peter de Vries is trolling around the Imperial Palace. He's there on some other business, and he gets wind that Lady Jessica's having a baby. Well, we hate the Atreides. So this fool, this fool grabs the baby and like is gonna run out of the palace with it somehow. I don't know how he thought he'd get away. I'm not exactly sure, but we have a long chase scene of this idiot run around with Paul baby infant Atreides. He ends up killing what's the lady? The Emperor's wife. He's the one who kills her. How did I not remember this lady's name? Anna Roll. He kills Anna Roll. But then this other lady, this other sister, just stabs him because she's not crazy with weird voices in her head. She dispatches him real quickly. And I'm like, what was the point of this? You don't have to put the Paul Atreides in weird danger just to make his life more interesting. It's fine. Just you could avoid this whole section. Stupid Peter de Vries. Also, he's a Mentat. A Mentat's a human computer. He could run the numbers. What are the odds I get out of the Imperial Palace with a baby I've stolen? What are exactly the odds? What are the odds you get out of a hospital with a baby that's not yours? What the crap are you doing, bro? You got to get out of the palace, then off the planet? How are you going to do that? Well, I'm a Mentat. It's a human computer, so I factored it in, and it says the odds are slim to none, but I'm going to give it a go, because who cares about my life? I certainly don't. It's so stupid. Speaking of so stupid, there's a moment in this book, probably around there, maybe there, about halfway in, where we bring in an etiquette advisor to House Harkonnen to teach these idiots how to eat properly, because the Baron wants to throw dinner parties and make himself more popular with the other houses. One, it assumes that the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen doesn't know how to act in public. Like they just make him so kill crazed that he'll kill someone and everyone freaking out about it, he'll just laugh at. Which is not the case. He's highly intelligent. Maybe one of the smartest persons in the galaxy. He's power hungry. It's not about shock factor. It's not about he's a psycho. It's power hungry. He's a power hungry psycho. The only reason he kills people is to reestablish power. It's constant. Like I said, he's going for the throne. So he would act completely normal around other of the houses. Probably he has some amount of charisma. Now, is he fat? Yeah, but they wouldn't think anything on that. They think, he indulges. You're allowed to indulge. Some of us look pale because we live on planets with, no sun. Some of us look like guild masters. Our bodies are mutated. They're just used to change because people live on different planets. The Landsrod wouldn't be biased against him in any sense. He's constantly he won't pay a guy for a souk doctor he used, like he's a cheapskate. Instead of, I'd freely pay you because I want it to look like I just have no concern about money whatsoever. Our author has no sense of how aristocrats would act. But apparently he thinks that these Harkonnens are just gorillas who don't know how to eat with a fork. So I'm going to bring in an etiquette guy. And that's what happens. Your rabbit is eating a steak. What is he using his hands? They were born and raised into a great house. They went to a decent school. They know how to act. It was one of the dumbest. He ends up throwing this guy into a pit or something and just laughing because he dies or something. It's very stupid. It's just very, very stupid. In one of the books, they crash land a stealth ship on the Sisterhood's planet. I forget the name of this planet. their home planet. And they go to investigate. And again, the same as the Tleilaxu. Nothing, these sisters don't care about technology. It's not in their interest. What do they care? Well, we can't have anyone else getting this stealth ship. I don't care if you have a stealth ship or not. I deal with human-to-human interactions. If one great house gets stealth ship and overpowers another, I'll send my sisters into them and get them to fall in love and have more kids. I'm about the genetic line to get to this Kwisatz Haderach. They go and investigate this ship. They bring in people like they can reverse engineer it. Like they need to have stealth ships for some dumb reason. They don't work in the shadows like that. Their sisters are out in the open next to all the great houses, probably. There's a truth sayer literally next to the emperor. And he's like, were they telling the truth? And she's like, yeah, they were. And he goes with that. I mean, it's as open as you can be. Everyone knows what they do. The benefits outweigh. They're like, what are they after? And they're like, they don't seem to be after money, so I don't care. They don't seem to be after the throne, so I don't care. They produce healthy babies, so I don't care. This one saved my life. She could fight. I didn't know. I don't care. They're not assassinating people. What do I care if she's in the palace? Nobody cares about the sisterhood. They're doing their own thing, and their own thing's not anything that's ours. They're not trying to take over a spice planet. They're not trying to make an empire. They just seem to be around. Whatever. I don't care. So these sisters would have no reason to look at this stealth ship. They might just bury it. Like, man, just cover it over with dirt. Makes my life easier. Or they use it. They're like, hey, here's a house we haven't entrenched ourselves in enough. Let's give this to them as a gift. Here's a stealth ship. Crash landed here. You want it? Take it. Take it with goodwill towards me and think better of me when I send a young girl to be an apprentice in your house. And they're like, works for me. I can use this stealth ship. No, they try and rebuild it. Once they can't, they're like, well, we're safer now. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like, not one iota. I think I'm going to end on, like I said, I could go literally any part of this book. But what I'm going to end on is the romance between Lady Jessica and Leto Atreides. In the Dune books, this is one of your all-time great romances. They're star-crossed. It's going to end badly. But you know they love each other. It's like a true adult. We love each other. And then it goes badly. And the bad makes it more romantic in a weird way. In this, it's very crass and it lessens it. One, because he had another lady first. He had married another lady first. Which is kind of annoying. But then he won't marry Jessica. And you're like, well, why don't you marry her if you love her? And he keeps saying for political reasons, which is the example he used in the Dune books. Well, we're not in the Dune books. These are the prequels. So, here's a young man in a great house. Where are all the unattached ladies? Where are all the other houses trying to send ladies in to see if they can get a marriage alliance to up there? Where's that politics? If I say no, they'll be mad at this. If I leave it open, I get that. There's these connections. And where's any of that? Not anywhere. It doesn't exist anywhere in any of the three books. He just says it and we move on. And then they'll go for like a quickie in a closet or something because the house is so busy or some weird their entire romance is just lessened. It's just crass and lessened and generic in these books. And I hate every second of it. What was so great is just, I don't know, debased. It's atrocious. It's a crime. These books, all of these, I'll just go with this. All of these, this one included, are terrible books. Don't read them. I guess that's the big question. Why did I read it? Why? I have like 4 more I got to read too. I got The Machine Crusade. I got the Butlerian Jihad. I have The Road to Dune. Paul of Dune. Still more BRIAN Herbert books. I'm going to suffer through them too. You know what I realized is for as bad as they are, I take it like a weird history. So if someone was telling you the history of America, but they didn't know what was going on, you'd still kind of get a sense that George Washington's cool. Even if they're so stupid they missed the part where he crosses the Potomac, etc., etc. They'd be like, isn't this guy established a country against an empire? And well, what did he do? We had wooden teeth. And I think he was a surveyor, but I don't remember. I know he rode a horse a couple of times. You're like, this man is not telling me what actually happened, but it still sounds kind of interesting. That's the vibe I get from these books. Because I'm such a Dune fan, I'll suffer through it. But I would not suggest anyone else do it. Unless you are like very much a Dune fan. Don't suffer through this because these are horrible. It is also a great example of a writer's skill. Just in contrast, you can read Dune, like really read it, and then read one of these, and you're like, this is the same subject matter. The guy has access to the same sort of notes. He can read Dune the same as I can. And yet there's such a disparity that you can start to see, like, oh, he's missing this. Here's what could be added. Here's how much better or worse the same idea can be just between two authors. It's cool. It's kind of cool to see it in that sense. But overall, these aren't good books. This is really bad. It made me angry, and then I laughed hysterically at how dumb people died. I'll actually remember it for a long time, though, just on stupidity alone. But I wouldn't suggest you read it. Every other Dune book, every other Frank Herbert Dune book is better. The other side books he has are better. He's a better writer. By magnitudes, by order of magnitudes better. It's kind of shocking. And that's House Corrino. And these are your ads. These are my books. I will freely admit none of my books are better than Dune. But I would say all of my books are better than BRIAN Herbert books. Because I'm not retarded. No offense. They just suck. His book's not mine. These are mine. You can buy them. Help the channel out. You can like. You can subscribe. You can comment. Basically, do whatever you want. I'm fine either way. Okay. I'm going to edit this today. I'm going to edit today. I will see you all next week.